Hello, welcome to Good Work Now, your resource for finding and creating good work. I'm Dr. Brian Moffitt. Let me start by asking you a few questions. Are you laid off? Are you in a dead-end job? Are you in what we call career crisis? If you answered yes to any of those questions, you need to watch this episode of Good Work Now, where we're going to walk you through the 7 steps out of career crisis. Joining me today will be Betsy Allen. She owns her own business called Gaining Results, and she's a local Fort Myers resident. And Betsy is a business process coach, and she works with individuals and leaders, helping them to make positive changes that result in more customers, more money, and more profitability. And she likes to work with inspired individuals and leaders. And by inspired, she means individuals that are looking to change and willing to get feedback and look at themselves and make the positive changes that are necessary to grow individually and organizationally. So please stay tuned to this episode of 7 Steps Out of Career Crisis. Betsy, thank you so much for being on Good Work Now and for walking us through these 7 steps out of career crisis. This certainly is a very timely topic for our viewers. Let's start with your first step, tap into your potential. So what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I want to start by asking you to look at this diagram and tell me, how many squares do you see, Brian? If you are seeing 16 or 20 or 21 squares and there's really 46, how much opportunity are you leaving on the table?
Right.
Even Einstein said that he never at any given time felt he was using more than 10% of his brain power. So if Einstein thought he had untapped potential, chances are most of us do as well.
Right, so we have blind spots, or we have self-imposed limitations where we're not seeing all the possibilities.
Exactly. So step number 1 is to tap into that unused potential.
Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the second one. What's that all about, the second one?
That is reflect and adjust. Brian, have you ever caught yourself doing something out of habit and you don't even recall why you do it or what satisfaction it brings? Well, I did this recently. What I recognized was that I was reading the newspaper after exercising every morning for about an hour. Think about what the newspaper is filled with. Killings, negativity, right? All the bad stuff that happens is what gets into the newspaper. And I realized, hey, wait a minute, I don't need any more negative messaging in my life. I need more positive messaging. So what I decided to do was change that habit, knowing that you've got to change that habit with a new habit that brings you more satisfaction. I now exercise in the pool listening to NPR. So NPR does have a little negativity as well, but it's far more with a positive twist to it.
Let's now talk about the third one, measure, measure, measure.
You know how in real estate they say it's location, location, location. Well, in behavior change, it's measure, measure, measure. Even Marshall Goldsmith, who has coached over 85,000 professionals in his career, says that no sustainable behavior change occurs without measurement and accountability. So if we were job hunting, we would be setting 7-day goals, and we would be accountable to the coaching relationship for the achievement of those goals.
Let's talk a little bit more about how we are accountable to the relationship rather than to the coach. For example, let's say that my assignment for the week was to make contact with 7 people for a potential career lead, and I didn't do that. And then you and I meet the following week later. So how would that conversation go?
Your accountability is back to the relationship. So when you don't achieve that goal, you and I are going to talk about what stood in your way. And we're going to revise possibly that goal for the next week, or keep it the same, but we're going to figure out how to get around those obstacles that kept you from doing something you want to do.
Let's now move on to step 5, which is conscious investment. What's that all about?
There is something magical in the brain chemistry that changes when you make an investment in yourself, your career, and your future. In other words, actually deciding, I'm going to make an investment in the coaching relationship so that I can accelerate getting a job. Because once you decide that it's you who are standing between that job and your future, then you become unstoppable in pursuing that.
And your 6th step is called Unleash Your Competitive Spirit. Tell us about that.
According to a study by Intermetrics, that's the company I use for my assessments, with 197,000 individuals in 23 countries, they uncovered 2 attributes to a peak performer. Attribute number 1, self-awareness. Peak performers know what their strengths are and where exactly to use them. And number 2 is authenticity. And that's the where exactly to use them. They are authentic to those strengths. They build a life around those strengths and leveraging those strengths, tapping that unused potential, if you will. As a matter of fact, I believe that self-awareness is such a critical element in your job search or making any personal changes or self-improvement that I actually offer a free abbreviated profile in exchange for you sitting down for an hour with me to debrief that profile and to talk about whether coaching would be a good match for you at this time.
How would folks talk to you about the free profile? Would they simply just email you?
Yes, just
Okay.
email me and put free profile in the subject line. And I will respond by sending you an invitation to take that profile. And then once I receive the copy of your profile, I'll reach out to you and we'll schedule an appointment.
Betsy, let's go ahead and wrap up with the 7th step, where you say emotions change behavior, ideas don't. This is compelling. Talk more about this one.
Well, the best way to do it is to walk you through an example.
Okay.
So think of a goal that you have for yourself and jot it down. If you were to achieve that goal, what would all the rewards be to you? How would it make you feel to achieve that goal?
Okay.
Next, I want you to switch gears and think instead of what would all the potential negative consequences be if you didn't achieve that goal, if maybe you didn't get that job. And then finally, and writing all this down, of course, finally, what are the obstacles that have kept you from achieving that goal in the past, or you expect to be obstacles in the future? What I've just introduced you to is called emotionalizing a goal.
So it's like you're emotionally prepared for the highs and the lows in the journey. Betsy, I want to thank you so much for being on Good Work Now. And let me go ahead and provide some contact information for Betsy Allen. Her website is gainingresults.com. And you can also email Betsy at gainingresults.com. And again, thanks a lot for walking us through the 7 steps out of career crisis.
My pleasure, and thank you.
Thanks so much for watching this episode of Good Work Now. And until next time, keep up the good work.